The Havana peace deal signed last August between Colombia and the main rebel group FARC started the process to put an end to a 52-year armed conflict. The amended agreement was ratified in November despite being rejected by a referendum. Half a century of war has left over 200,000 people dead. In the past 20 years, 7.3 million were forced to flee. The peace deal in Colombia involved only one of its rebel groups. Several areas of the country are still hit by heavy fighting. Instability and clashes pushed, according to official data, at least 58,000 people out of their homes last year, but NGO numbers are much higher. Putumayo is among the areas where recently displaced people tend to go. Among them is Lucia. This is not her real name. She traveled to Puerto Asís last July.
I fled twice, now and in 2002. In 2002, I was left with nothing. Last year, we left around the 10th of July. Armed groups asked for €1.50 a day, and when it was impossible to pay, they started threatening us.
Last August, Lucia applied to be officially recognized as a displaced person by local authorities in order to benefit from national aid. The legal procedure is due to take 3 months, during which the most vulnerable displaced people will receive international help. We went with Lucia to her last monthly meeting with the NGO Action Against Hunger. The organization gives urgent help, providing money for shelter, hygiene, and including a kit for water purification, but above all, food.
Every family receives 100,000 pesos for each member. It's the equivalent of €30 per month. In terms of hygiene, we give the equivalent of €18 for the whole family at one time.
This is Lucia's last shopping trip with the NGO's help. It is 5 months since she asked for the local authorities' registration. Families can wait up to 1 year before they are granted displaced status or not.
When the help ends, we'll go back to the same old rice and a little soup.
Lucia moved into an area known as a stronghold of FARC's 48th Front. It produced most of the drug money needed to finance the conflict. The peace deal is pushing the guerrilla group away, and new balances are emerging. As a humanitarian donor, the EU is following the situation closely.
The country still has a number of other armed groups that not only have not signed the peace agreement, but are in increased competition to recover territory. That has resulted in a number of consequences for the population, especially in rural areas, particularly in terms of forced displacement.
We moved inland to understand how food and agricultural programs are helping reduce displacement in rural areas, where cocoa production is still big, as well as the attempts to eradicate it.
The effects of the armed conflict are most evident in the cities, but rural areas have also been severely affected. Now we're heading to the Cofan indigenous community.
Rural communities like Cofan have lived for years between armed groups and the government. Locals were killed, many fled, and the isolation imposed by the conflict limited their self-reliance and trade opportunities. Bogotá has ended up with a land fumigation policy to eradicate cocoa production. Cofan are still paying the price.
Fumigations started because of cocoa production. They started here in 2005 until 2013. It's affected not only illicit crops, but above all, food crops. Here, there are no business opportunities, there are no guarantees, work is just exhaustion. As indigenous farmers, we demand that all cocoa fields are converted.
The UN Food and Agriculture Organization is following up on a food security project which was finalized last year in this community. The Cofan were given seeds to plant crops and were trained in effective agricultural practices. Results are encouraging.
They go on with the activities they learned with the FAO, but following their own initiative. They choose their own crops, they apply their techniques in the shared orchard, this one here, and they do the same in their private gardens.
Confinement is still affecting rural areas, and food insecurity is among its main consequences. In 2009, over 30 indigenous communities were considered at risk of extinction due to the conflict.